Hello! Thank you for joining me for another episode of Content Marketing Commute. I'm out, I won't lie, it's not necessarily my commute today. I'm out for a quick lunchtime walk and it is warm, or as the French would say, chaud. It is very warm today. August day here in the south of France. Out for a little walk and a different kind of setup you might see if you're watching on the video. Got a tiny little mic here between my thumb and forefinger, trying something a little bit different. So if you are just listening on the podcast apps, do invite you to come on over, click the link in the description and you can see the sights of the beautiful south of France in August here. Sweltering day. But today, this is what we call an About Last Week episode. I've got to be honest, I haven't been running them every second week. That was sort of the plan. Life is intense at the moment, guys, and I've got some news coming up another day about why it's intense. But take it from me, it's intense right now. And so running an episode every week has been a bit challenging, but I'm doing my best. And today, we're doing it. It's About Last Week episode, where essentially I focus in on something that we talked about in the episode last week. The idea is that, I run a guest episode every second week, and there's so much awesome stuff in there that I run these About Last Week episodes to dive into something in particular, specific in that episode, and just go a bit further on it myself. So I'm not joined by a guest today, but just me. Hope that's okay with everyone. So last week I was in Paris to speak with Lynne Heideman from Dataiku about product marketing and its connection with content marketing and what that sort of looks like. So if you did listen in, you'll know that Lynne Heideman, she leads both product marketing and content marketing at Dataiku, which is a really cool company based in Paris. And it was a fantastic conversation about how those two teams can work together, what's the difference between product marketing and content marketing. And I do encourage you to go have a listen if you haven't already. But one particular thing that stood out to me is not necessarily diving deep into the specifics of product marketing or content marketing, but was this sort of phrase, or it was quite a short part of the episode that she mentioned. So let's just play it to you right now.
People cannot wake up in the morning wanting to buy your product.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And they're probably thinking about your brand a lot less than you want them to be. Or, they're thinking about their own problems.
They're thinking about their own problems. And that's why content marketing is so important, because content marketing brings the problems.
Yeah.
Like, that's what content marketing is about, is talking about people's challenges and offering them solutions, which is, of course, your product. But you have to start with the challenges. Otherwise, no one is going to look at your sell sheet just because they woke up one day and were like, what did I do?
And it's such a good point. It's one we know. No one's waking up in the morning thinking about buying your product if you're in B2B. It's a sad reality. I'm sorry to break your heart, because a lot of times we work at these companies and these products are our babies. But the reality of it is, it's a different world to the consumer world, right? A lot of times what's driving purchase in B2B is not kind of a love for whatever tech you've produced. It's kind of like, it's to solve a pain. It's to avoid something bad happening. And so it's a different kind of purchase than in the consumer world, and you gotta really understand that. And the reality is, depending on what you do in B2B, it's not always the most sexy thing, let's be honest. Right now I'm working at a company called Upflow. I like to think it's sexy, but you decide for yourself. Essentially, it's accounts receivable automation software, cash collection software. Is that sexy? Well, we're making it sexy, but I understand if people aren't waking up in the morning thinking, man, I want to buy Upflow today. And so what do we do with that? We all know that kind of stat that says, hey, 95 or 97% or whatever it is of your total addressable market is not in buying mode right now. Very small percentage of your TAM is in buying mode. And so that sort of feeds into the sense that people aren't thinking about buying a B2B software or a B2B service very often at all. So as a B2B marketer, what are you supposed to do with that? If that's all well and good, it's probably a little bit depressing in some ways, but how should that change the way we operate and the way we work? So that's what I want to sort of dive into today. Give you just 3 quick thoughts on how knowing this should change the way we work. Number 1 is not pretending that it's any other way, okay? It's a mindset shift. Really taking a moment to say, okay, I'm going to take on board the fact that people are not thinking about my B2B brand as much as I hope they would, or kind of can lead myself to believe they would. And one thing we talked about in the episode with Lynn was the longer you're in a company, the easier it is to drink the Kool-Aid and to start to think, hey, actually, we're doing something pretty cool. And you might be doing something pretty cool. But in reality, the nature of your business, the nature of your product means that people aren't going to be ready to buy all the time. And people aren't going to be ultra excited about it, and don't expect them to be all the time. Really, it's about a mindset shift of saying, am I trying to shove this down people's throat all the time when they're not ready to buy? And if so, I need to rethink that. Number 2 is focusing on their pains, okay? People might not be thinking about your brand and your product every day, but they certainly are thinking about their pains. If they have a strong enough pain, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about ways to solve it. And they might not even be thinking about buying something to solve it, but crucially, you can help them with their pain. And that's where the best content comes into play, essentially helping them to solve it, whether that's with your product or not. Ultimately, it's going to be with your product. But in the meantime, help them to solve it without your product. Build trust, build loyalty, build a kind of sense of, these guys know what they're talking about. They've helped me to do my job better without even needing to have bought their product. That's really that's the way the best content operates, and speaks a whole lot less about how great we are, how good our product is, we're the best, we're so high rated on G2, we're absolutely fantastic, and speaks a whole lot more about you as the customer, your pain, we understand it, here's how you can solve it, and by the way, we have a product that also solves it. I think it comes back to, I read this book, can't remember the name of it, it's Story Brand or something like that. I'll put a link in the description, something to do with your story brand. Essentially, that book talks about the fact that your brand in your story is not the hero. We all know about storytelling and marketing. We know how important that is. But if you are positioning your brand as the hero in the story you're telling to your customers, you're doing it wrong. Okay, you need to be the guide, and your customer is the hero. And if your customer is the hero, you as the brand, as the product, can be the guide to helping them find the way and become a better hero in their own story. So are you positioning your customer as the hero, or are you as the brand trying to be the hero? Because if you are, it's not the way. And sort of just a final point on what this means, what this whole thing means for the way you should do your marketing. You know, if people are not waking up in the morning thinking about my brand, what does it mean? What should I do differently? This could be controversial, but I'd say focus in on entertainment, right? And there's a guy by the name of Obaid Durrani. If you hang out on LinkedIn, you'll probably know him. He was at Hockey Stack, leading content and brand. Now I believe he's at Clay. And I saw him say a fantastic thing a little while ago, which was really the sense of, sure, focus in on the pain for your customers and your prospective customers, but there's a stage even before the pain, before they even know they have a problem, where actually they're not feeling a great deal of pain, but you as a brand can still speak to them through entertainment, right? And everyone wants to be entertained. You might be thinking, oh, we're a fintech, we're this, we're consulting, whatever. Our personas don't respond to entertainment. I guarantee you they do. They go to movies, they watch Netflix, they're on TikTok. More and more as the generations progress and millennials and Gen Z become decision makers, which they are more and more, regardless of the job they do, they might do some kind of super boring finance thing, but I guarantee you in their personal lives, they look to entertainment. And people always have, every generation. I think this whole sense that doesn't make a difference in business is total pogwash. Pogwash, I tell you. It makes a huge difference, and it might seem gimmicky, it might seem stupid for a B2B brand to be entertaining people, to be creating content that specifically is about entertaining people, but I'm a huge believer in this. It keeps you top of mind. If you can make someone laugh, that is genuinely one of the best emotional responses you can garner out of them, and it's so memorable. I remember things I laugh at, and I might not be feeling a specific pain or have a specific issue, but if a brand can get on my radar by making me laugh at something, when I do start to feel that pain, I'm going to remember them. 9 times out of 10, there's a stat to throw in there. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to remember that. And that's proven. I just made that up, but honestly, that is the future of content, and B2B brands that are brave enough to be doing that, I think, are awesome, are getting great results, and it's the kind of work I hope to be doing very soon at Upflow. So follow Upflow. That's the CTA today. Check us out on LinkedIn. Check out the website. Lots to come. Lots of awesome work being done. You can see the kind of work I'm doing day to day while I also run this podcast. So yeah, practically you can see what I'm doing if you follow Upflow. Okay, well, that's pretty much all I had to say today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't be too disheartened by that saying that people aren't thinking about your brand in B2B. It's normal. It's the reality. So change what you're doing. Change how you're approaching it. Focusing on pain, focusing on entertainment. Don't pretend it's any other way. And let me know how you go. Thank you so much for joining me. If you do have any thoughts or want to share how you're going, give me an email, joe@contentmarketingcommute.com. Flick me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, I'm going to see you next week on Content Marketing Commute. Have a good one. Bye-bye.